What up, y'all? What's going on? My name is Lump, Life's Ugly Money Problem, and welcome back to the No Chops podcast, where we chop it up with no chops. What's good with y'all? Hope you're doing well. What's up with me? What's up with me is today's podcast. On today's podcast is I got laid off from work. And we'll come back and talk about that. We'll talk about losing my job. Talk about navigating career transitions in my lifetime. And then from there, we're gonna go into sports. I'm a fan of Black History Month because I know what it stands for. When Black History Month actually started, it was a week, so to have a whole month is a blessing. And it's we get the extra day this year. We get the leap year, so we finally get that 29th day. One day we'll register, I guess, and get a 30-day month. I'm a fan of Black History Month because it shows you what Black people have done in America. I'm not a fan of Black History Month because Black history is American history. Can't really separate the two. But I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens with it. That's with that. My week in comedy. So the last episode my pop was on, that was about a week ago. Since then I performed a couple different places, did a few mics, a couple of shows, and things have gone okay for me. On stage, I find myself getting funnier, and things are going well, getting better. If you follow me on social media, on Friday at about 3 o'clock, I posted a video that said, no matter how things are going in your life right now, remember that they could be worse. And then an hour later, I got laid off from my job. So let's get right into that. I had worked for this particular company for just about a year and 3 weeks. So yeah, I worked for them for a year, and we was delivering lunch, basically lunch to people, and we also would help out with events. And it was a good job. Everything was the pay rate was okay. Every now and well, in the slow season, we were scrounging for hours. So I liked the job, and I liked what the job came with. We were driving Sprinter vans to deliver lunch, and that was always cool and fun. And it wasn't too much work. Remember, I came from delivering appliances, so going from 200 and 300 pound appliances to delivering your 30 pound lunch order was very easy for me. I got the job through a multiple through a friend of mine in comedy named Andy Julia. Shout out to him. Still love you, brother. Thank you for having me. It was good. When they decided to lay me off, I got called up to the office, and I basically got hit with a freight train. I didn't know that I could just be laid off at any time. Um, so basically, what happened was the company that I was working for basically got bought out by a corporation, and so they had more stockholders now. Well, the original company had less stockholders. The people that bought into the corporation had more than 50% stake, so they get to make all the calls, and they came through and they chopped everybody too short to shit. Everybody got cut. So while we were in the office, I was told that my medical benefits end in a few hours. It's the 31st. I was told I had to the end of the month. And so my medical benefits end at midnight on the East Coast today. Uh, Thank you for ah, it's crazy because I try to pride myself on being the the best that I can when I am delivering something. So I speak very nicely, and it don't even make sense to get into that because it was a non-performance thing, and I was told that I could go ahead and get my little stock options, which wasn't bad. It was like $200 for last year, which is okay, I guess. Well, not stock options, but my 401k was 220. Um, it's I didn't like being told that I got laid off for no reason. And it wasn't for no reason, but I didn't do anything to force myself. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything to be fired. So we going back to unemployment. I think that's what's going to end up happening. I'm going to get some unemployment. We're going to milk that for a while, see how that goes. And when I say milk that, I mean we're going to use that for what it's necessarily needed for. I'm still in a weird mental headspace because it's almost like I don't like the way it happened, but it's like a blessing in disguise because if if you watch the show, about 3 weeks ago, I was told that I needed to quit my job anyway by Michael Collier, and it's almost I hate to use the word, but it's almost like bittersweet that I would lose my job within 3 weeks of that happening, and now I am focusing on I wouldn't say comedy full time, but going as far as I can to do less work in other places and just do comedy. So we'll see how that goes. I got my feet in the door. First step in the right direction is I got an EIN. Next up is the LLC, and we'll get moving. I liked a lot of the people that I worked with at the company. Uh, shout out to Frank and Jose, and shout out to Chris, and shout out to Matt, to the lovely Shantae, shout out to her, and then the cooks and stuff too, but that was just basically the driver. Shout out to Nick, good dude, Nick. Mel, young Mel's cool. Oye James is cool. Shout out to the drivers. We had fun, you know what I mean, and you know we got the job done, and we always had each other's back. And shout out to Andy as well. Thanks again, good brother. Andy Julia, very funny dude. If you can get him on the show, get him on the show. Very funny guy. Met him years ago, and in Philly, and he booked me for a couple shows, and even while I was working with the company, he over the last summer, he got me booked, and I got to headline, and I had a ball. I wish I'd have recorded that set because it was amazing. And how am I coping? How am I coping with losing my job? I don't know. I'm regular about it. I'm happy, but I'm not happy, and I'm kind of sad, but I'm not sad. I don't know. I'm like my son. I told my son. So this is how it really went. I made the motivational TikTok, and then an hour later I lost my job, and then I went and picked my son up, and I said, I gotta tell you something. He said, what? I said, I ain't got no job. And he said, what you mean? I said, I got laid off. He said, you got fired? I said, no, I didn't get fired. I got laid off. And he was like, it's gonna be okay, Dad. And I was like, so you just gonna be out here hanging out with your jobless and toothless daddy? Like he was like, man, you gonna be fine. and it's cool where I told him and I told my pop, y'all remember my pop, he was getting at me last episode, about what happened, and I mean they okay with it too, but my son, who is like my biggest supporter, and I love you very, very much, Reggie, he was like, everything's gonna be fine, you're gonna be okay. And so far I have been. Now we've had to do some things that we didn't want to do, like right now to cope, because I'm not working. I'm doing a little bit more. I've had a few more service calls to go do, and I have the time to actually go get to them. Probably gonna drive some Lyft. I'm basically doing everything except selling my ass or anybody else's. Like I'm not. I'm gonna be okay because I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay because I'm gonna be okay, and I'm not really a self-proclaimed hustler. Like but I know when things get dire and drastic, I know how to get to $1 and it be legal, or if it is illegal, like nobody knows what's going on with it. I would like to believe that, but I know that I feel like I'm gonna be okay. I've been sending a lot of emails out to comedy clubs and making sure that I can. I know once I get my taxes filed, I'm gonna travel. I have to. And so I'm coping by doing what I can to get by. I had a 401k from a previous job. I had to cash that in because ends got to meet. I don't care what go on. They can't. The ends can't be strangers. They gotta meet. The ends have to meet, and so I don't think I'm gonna end up doing too many more corporate jobs anyway. And so I needed that money immediately, and so I cashed it out. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be penalized for it. And that's fine. It wasn't that much anyway, but it's enough to where I can do some things with it in the moment. And that basically leads us into the next segment, which is navigating career transitions, right? And so, as a youngster, if you've been watching the show, or if you've been watching the pod, if you've been watching the pod, you know that and I talked with my pop about it last episode, where basically from the age of 10 years old, I've been mechanically inclined, so I could take stuff apart, put stuff back together. People have hired me to like put grills together, or put I don't like really digging in the wall, so I won't do like mounting a television. I won't do that, but I know how to do some things. I know how to drive. I know how to deliver appliances. But my first job was just like fixing washing machines, fixing dryers, fixing stoves, fixing refrigerators. And I know that being mechanically inclined puts you in a whole nother ballpark when it comes to getting money, or getting to a job, getting especially under the table work. Because Uncle Sam, Uncle Sam wants his cut, and every now and then you got to do something where Uncle Sam don't get none of that bread. Like you can't. Uncle Sam doesn't know anything about it. So like I said, I know how to take stuff apart. And my first job was working for my father on 52nd Street. And then when we and him, as I got a little older, we would, it's like, I don't want to call it a breakup, but he definitely fired me. He fired me about 4 or 5 times. I think the real number is like 5. I had a friend of mine named Sean Gonthney, who's still a good dude. That's my guy, Shiz. For those that know him, Feast, which is hilarious, and that's the story only I will allow him to tell, or the person that came up with it to tell. But Shiz came to me one day and was like, we were sitting in my house playing video games. He was like, yo, I'm tired of being broke. And I was like, yeah, me too. He was like, yo, I know how to cook. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go work at this restaurant, and then 2 weeks later, I'm gonna bring you in, I'm gonna train you, so you always know how to cook, and so that no matter what happens in your life going forward, you could always get a job in the kitchen. And that was great. Like I learned how to cook. I mean, look at me. I always enjoy food, right? But learning how to prepare it is something totally different. I'm not the greatest cook in the world, but I make some good stuff. Some mean things. I know how to make some shit. I worked for a couple restaurants that taught me some things, so I know how to make pizza dough from scratch, and marinara sauce from scratch. And the only thing I'm really not good at in cooking is like baking. Like all my cakes fall, or I don't know. I don't skip a step. Like, so it's you know what I mean. It's kind of crazy. But I cooked for John Harvey's Brew House, and ended up working as a porter, which means like we made fries and wings, but we also like, I did everything but clean toilets. Like we would clean the whole kitchen and make sure everything was up to snuff, but we also like drop some wings and some fries from time to time, helping out the kitchen, the actual cooks in the kitchen. One of the times where me and my dad was on the outs, I was looking in the Philly Metro and I saw an ad to clean up Veteran Stadium after games. So that lets you know how far back this was. This was before 2000. And I had a resume, and I took my resume to the lady at the stadium in charge, and she looked at my resume and she said, "Well, you cook?" And I said, "Yeah, I know how to cook." and she walked me to the executive chef. His name was Mike Trainer, and I got hired on the spot. And mind you, I'm still like less than 2 years into cooking, so I'm not really strong at it. I'm really like just learning on the fly. No distance shiz. He trained me very well, and I knew how to work on the line and all that kind of stuff. But working at the stadium was something different. I don't eat eggs, but I make a mean omelet. So when they had certain games, they would have like the omelet station, and I would, work out there. I worked in the Hall of Fame Club at the Veterans Stadium and got to meet a lot of the former Eagles and Phillies players that still stick around the organization. People like Greg Lazinski, Mike Quick, very nice gentlemen. Mean spirited to each other because I guess when you know somebody 30, 40 years, you can say anything you want to them. But as far as like dealing with the staff and stuff, or the people that I worked for, I was working for Aramark. It was very good. It was very beneficial to that. I got to a point where, all right, so I did at Veterans Stadium, I did the last Eagles season and the last two Phillies seasons. 9/11 happened while I was working at Veterans Stadium, and if I'm not mistaken, the Marlins were in town. It was supposed to be a day-night doubleheader the next day, but 9/11 happened and the games got canceled. My memory might be off a little bit, but I know we was playing the Marlins that weekend. I got to a point, I even worked at Citizens Bank Ballpark. I started there the July of the year it opened. I ended up doing maybe 3 years there. I was working in the restaurant above the restaurant below the scoreboard. It's like a porch. It was called Harry the K's, and then the real restaurant was underneath. I worked there for three seasons. I was there from like 02 to 05 or 03 to 05. I know I left in 05. But at the end of the first season, Harry Kalas and Chris Wheeler, they had their the last baseball game in Philadelphia at home is always Fan Appreciation Day. From what I remember, they may have changed that. Mr. Kalas and Chris Wheeler broadcasted the game from the top porch, and he was one of the nicest people I ever met. So much so that when he passed away and they had the funeral, I ended up dragging my son's mother, who was pregnant, shout out to Sugar Mama, to his funeral at the stadium. But I had came to a point. Another thing. I was at the First Union Center or the Wachovia, whatever the fuck it was called, when the Sixers played the Hornets. I believe it was a playoff game, and Iverson either had 55 or 60. I can't remember. I smoke a lot of weed. Lots of weed has been smoked over them years. But those were like some highlights. I remember Dollar Dog Day when fucking Ichiro Suzuki and the fucking and the Mariners came to town, and they packed that fucking building, and the vet used to hold 66,000. Man, we was cooking hot dogs in the steamer, in the kettle, in the ovens. We was baking them. Steaming them, frying them, deep frying them. Them niggas got hot dogs that I don't think I ate a hot dog for about 4 months. Don't pause that. Y'all, everything can't be gay. Stop. Niggas eat hot dogs. With Dollar Dog Day, you come to the stadium, you get hot dogs. You're a weirdo if you don't. It came to a point with me where I stopped cooking because I knew I could get back into appliances or whatever. And when you cook, like food, you just smell like food. And we was doing it so much. I was working so much that I just smelled like fucking kitchen, like fried food every day, and I got sick of that smell. And I ended up, I kind of low-key retired from it, but when a friend of mine opened a restaurant, I ended up doing some more cooking after that. From cooking, I went through life, and life happens. I ended up having, going back to work for my father. His business began shutting down, so I ended up not working for him. Me and my son mom ended up on the outs. I ended up on the street for a few years, and then I went on Craigslist one day and I saw a listing for appliance delivery, and I was like, yo, I know how to do that. And I I ended up getting in contact with the guy. His name was Vince. Vince is one of the coolest people, nicest people. Turns out he was basically working for a company out in King of Prussia, and he put me on. There's these. I bring them in one day. There's these straps that you have to put on your shoulders, and then there's a belt underneath that you put into the straps, and you put it. You have a partner with you, and you put those straps on, and you put the strap underneath it, tighten down, lift up, and you can move just about anything as long as it's not too heavy to be carried, and you can get the belt under it. And that's basically what we was using to deliver washers, dryers, stoves, refrigerators, air conditioners, and like that trade spawned from me doing deliveries with my father, or for my father when I worked at his company. But we did something together too, so I guess both ways works with that. And ended up working it for them for about 3 or 4 years, and I think I don't remember how I stopped working for them the first time, because I ended up I either got fired or I was told not to come back, something along them lines, and I ended up working at a produce company out in Fullcroft, delivering for them. And I worked with them for about a year, and it was a good joint too, because I like to drive. Anybody that knows me knows I love driving. And so the route that they gave me was like 3:45 in the morning. I would have to be to work. Oh no, I would leave the warehouse, and my first stop was in Woodbridge, New Jersey, at a Kona restaurant, and I loved that job. I really did. And I had the key to the Kona, right? And what I would do is, on my way to work in the morning, I would stop at the Wawa, and I would get like a cup of coffee, or anybody knows me. I only get coffee or tea if it's really, really cold. But beyond that, like even if it's freezing outside, I'll get a iced cappuccino. And so I'll get an iced cappuccino, and I would go to work, and I would leave, and I would go to Woodbridge every morning that I had to work, and I had the key, and I would go in there, and I would light the fucking bathroom the fuck up. It got so bad that like 3 weeks of me working there, they left a note on the mirror with a fucking can of spray, said, "Please use this." Right? And I was destroyed. Like I was killing it so bad you could smell it in the restaurant. When I was done, I was blowing the building up every morning. And then from Woodbridge, I would go get back on the Turnpike, New Jersey Turnpike, and then I would stop in Rutgers campus. First day I'm on Rutgers campus, they sent me up in a van instead of usually they had like 20 or 26 foot box trucks, and it was my first time up there, so I didn't know, and my GPS said I was going the wrong way, so I made a U-turn and flipped. And a cop pulled me right over, and he said, "Yo, you're not allowed to do this, this, that, and the third." I said, "Well, I got to pay this ticket because, you know what I mean, it's on me." From Rutgers, I would usually have 1 or 2, but my last stop was Honey Grow on Washington Avenue in Hoboken. That was my last stop every day. And it was 2.5 hours. So I ended up watching, like I would play stuff on my phone as I'm driving. Not really watching it, but more so hearing it. I did 20 seasons of Law and Order in about 2 months. Like I just going up, coming back, going up, coming back. From there, I ended up back delivering appliances for them. For the people out in King of Prussia, I also delivered for a company out in Delaware. And then one day I was driving the truck and I parked too close to a pole with the 26-foot box truck, and there was a mail truck, like a mail carrier, USPS truck behind me, and a car that was too close, and I ended up pulling out, and when I pulled out, it ripped the whole back gate off. I think I got that video. No, that picture would be in my drive somewhere. I pulled like the whole back of the truck off, and I had to like ratchet it up and bring it back, and the next day I got fired, and they fought me on my unemployment, and I ended up getting it. I ended up getting that unemployment, and then when that unemployment ran out, I went to another delivery company. While all of this is going on over the past 13 years, and it's been 13 years as of last weekend, I've been doing stand-up comedy, and so these transitions have been crazy, but comedy has been a constant in all of them. Speaking of comedy, we gonna move right into fucking sports and that joke of a fucking playoff game that the Eagles played, where they nine, really? That's nine. You switch defensive coordinators in the middle of a season, towards the end of a season. There was no need to do that. You had already won 10 games. Start preparing for the fucking playoffs. No. It just didn't look right. And then the offense sputtered all season. That offense, with the pieces that they have, should have been averaging 25 to 30 points a game. And it was a struggle for them to score. Ugh. I don't know who you blame. Nick didn't get fired. Congratulations to him. Brian Johnson did get fired. Sean Desai did get fired. I really feel like they should have tried to run it back with Gannon and Steichen, even though they did get coaching jobs, but could have done better. As of a few days ago, I believe they hired Kellen Moore from San Diego, who was the Cowboys offensive coordinator at some point, and for defense, they brought in Vic Fangio, who's a name that you've heard in NFL circles. I don't know how many teams he has worked for. He basically runs from what I understand, he runs a 3-4-9, the wide 9 style front defense, which I'm okay with, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes, man. It's really crazy out here. I'm really disappointed in the offense. I just am. And even though A.J. Brown didn't play in the playoff game and Devontae Smith did all that he could, I feel like the Eagles should have run the fucking ball. When they went to the Super Bowl last year, it was because after week 5 or 6, somebody the whole city was literally begging the coach to run the ball, and he did. And then from now this year, we just not running the ball. You run the ball and set your offense up. You got great receivers. You got great tight end. You got good running backs, but Rashard Penny barely touched the ball. What's the dude's name? 14. Gainwell, and no shot at Gainwell. I'm just not the biggest fan of him, but he does great. So I guess I'm wrong on that. But DeAndre Swift got an All-Pro nod, but then you stopped using them in the second half of the season. I don't get that. And let's go for all NFL offenses. Can we please stop doing bubble screens and wide receiver screens and they're terrible plays. The thing is, when it works great, and I get that, but it's just very, very bad. I'm so disappointed in my Birds, and I hope they come back and do better. Now, the one thing I will say is the Eagles lost the Super Bowl last year, and then they came back and they made the playoffs. Most teams that go to a Super Bowl have that good of a season. We didn't win our division. I think we were 5th out of the 7 teams that made it, and that's fine. But we made the tournament, so I'm proud of them for that, but we need another parade. It's been 5 years. 5 years has been up. From there, we're going to go into the Flyers. Shouts to them, because they weren't supposed to be relevant this year, and even though they're at this moment on a bit of a losing nod or skid, they have been doing well. I think they're 2nd or 3rd in their division, which is okay. But for some reason, and I have to do more research on this, so I'm unprepared. For some reason, Carter Hart is out indefinitely. Don't know what that's about. I actually feel like Googling that right now because I want to know what that's about. So is it okay if I do that? Yeah, I think it's okay if I do that. All right, so it says Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Carter Hart will take an indefinite leave of absence due to personal reasons. We're going to do more research and come back with that because I need to know what that's about. Also, props to Owen Tippett. I heard he got an 8-year contract, and he was the one of the big pieces that they got in the Drew trade. So I'm, that like I said, the Flyers have been better than they were supposed to when the season started, and they're playing tough defense, which is good in hockey. And regardless of what's going on with Carter Hart, I wish him the best. I hope he comes back soon. Need him to stand on his head. Him and I can't remember the dude's name. The backup, the other boy, Sam Ersson. That's his name. Sam Ersson. And they brought up a new kid, Cal Peterson. He looks like he played for the Kings before. That's gonna be good. But yeah, best of luck to the Flyers. We'll see how things go. Moving right along, the Phillies. Once again, we're not going to talk about them yet. Although I do have some things to say. I want to wish the best to Rhys Hoskins, who was basically the Phillies' first baseman for the past few seasons, and they are not going to re-sign him. And we'll always have Bat Spike, kid. Yo, I like that guy. He was a good dude. Peace to him. But really no new news on the Phillies other than they're not bringing Rhys Hoskins back, and they picked up a couple pitchers. But as we get pulled closer to pitchers and catchers, we'll ramp up on some Philly stuff. Which brings us to the main thing, the main sports team, I guess, in Philly right now, because all the other ones are not playing besides the Flyers, and that would be the Philadelphia 76ers. They're doing well. Embiid is having a great year. The game has evolved to everyone being 6'6" and 6'7" and shooting threes and playing defense. So we'll see what goes on with that. As far as Embiid, props to him. His streak kind of got ended with the 30 and 10, but he's still cooking people for breakfast. He had 70 last week. And I didn't get to watch that game. I got to watch the highlights. 70. And since then, Luka and somebody else put up 62. And the same night that Embiid had 70, Karl Anthony Towns had 62, but they lost, and acting like something's wrong with that. But putting up 60 in a game is elite enough. Since Embiid put up the 70, I think Luka has 73. I think it's getting out of hand. We need to start playing a little better defense out there, fellas. I don't know what y'all going through. They announced the All-Stars, and I'm okay with all of them. Embiid was the only one from the Sixers, and not to say that nobody else deserves it, but he is the reigning MVP. He's also the league leader in scoring, I think, or scoring average. So it's going to go well. With every team that I was talking about, except for the Sixers, I guess there's been setbacks, and I guess what do we? I guess how you deal with setbacks kind of affect you going forward, because you know what you've been through, but you know the future is foggy. Like right now, I'm not working. I don't have a job. Right now, this is my job. This and stand-up comedy are my jobs. And does it hurt? Yes, but it's also fine. It hurts because I'm used to having a job. I'm used to being on someone's payroll. But hopefully this may springboard me to having my own payroll. Who knows? Or at least just paying myself. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to talk about some of the setbacks that I've had in my life. The first real setback that the first real incident in my life that I would consider a setback that was on my own stuff was not finishing college. I went to a college in Lancaster, PA. I was there for 1 year, played on the football team. And then it just wasn't for me, and I ended up being homeless in Lancaster for like 3 weeks. I was homeless with a car, which was crazy. I got hired at a McDonald's and never worked a day. I did the training day, and then the next day I got in the car and I drove to Pennsylvania. I drove back to Philadelphia and told my father what happened. He was very disappointed in me, but it just wasn't for me. I couldn't do it. in between me not having jobs with or not working for my father and also being homeless, I ended up having a pickup truck. And with my pickup truck, I would do deliveries. I would pick stuff up from people. I would scrap metal. Scrap medaling is a different breed of animal because you can find metal anywhere, but is it metal to be taken or is it, you know what I'm saying? What you gonna have to do for this metal? So I I've gone into abandoned buildings that I've sat and watched for weeks, and I know nobody was in them or out of them, or maybe there was some people going in and out of them that were maybe using drugs or whatever. And I would wait until the house was completely clear, and then I would go in the basement. I would make sure the water was off, and then I would rip all the copper out the ceilings. And if the walls were exposed, rip it out the walls as well. Also, old appliances and stuff, that kind of thing. I would do that. And I basically call that scraping to survive because that's what that was. And I'm not saying I did it every day, but it's one of those things where, like, people say you got to strike when the iron is hot. If I notice this building, nobody's been in it for 3 weeks, or this house, and I know it's abandoned, and nobody's been in it for 3 weeks, but I've also scoped it out and I know where everything is. I know how to get in the building. I know how to get out of the building. I know how fast I have to be. I know, I better move quickly and get moving because people will call the cops on you. I was a friend of mine, Boo, from my block, told me to go ahead and scrap everything that was in his grandparents' place. And I went in there and I had music playing and I was taking, bunk beds and stuff apart. And, I did everything but rip the copper out, and that was what we agreed upon. One of the neighbors had called the cops, not knowing that I was supposed to be in there. And when the cops came in, they saw that the back window was broken, and he was like, "Well, how did you get in the house?" And I was like, "Well, he gave me his key. I have the key right here." And they didn't hold me or anything, but I think that was the closest I ever came to getting arrested. Because my truck, I was like, if I was doing something illegal, my truck would not be parked out front, the door would not have been wide open, and my music would not have been playing. I would have been listening for, somebody to say something. And so I got out of that pretty good. Scraping to survive. When you, I don't know. A lot of people that I know do more than one thing. What those things are could be a bunch of stuff. Some people do taxes. Some people do tattoos. Some people, are interior decorators and that sort of thing. And that to me is what a true hustler is. A hustler is somebody that can, do a bunch of different things well to provide for themselves or keep themselves alive, because that's where some of us are. Some of us, like, there's some people, believe it or not, there are still people to this day that collect cans and recycle and go scrap medaling, and they're not on drugs. They're just trying to make enough to eat for that day or the next few days. And like, I've been there. And I'm not saying that if you haven't been there, that you're missing out on something. But that kind of thing shows you that you have to be fluid in ways that you can provide for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I've done the most corporate of things. I haven't done anything corporate, but I've done some corporate things. I've got things on paper with the government. They seen what I do. They know what I do. I also have some things that I would believe, unless I was being followed and tracked, that the government would never know about. I hope that doesn't draw any ire, because, I've never gotten in trouble. And I've had a TWIC card before, a couple of times. It's It's a level one Homeland Security clearance that you can get on docks and airports with. Um, Once you get there, they're gonna ask you why the fuck you there, but um, it has helped me get out of certain situations because, like, yo, government knows who I am here. Actually, got me out of one incident. I was scrapping, and cops came in, and the owner wasn't there, and basically I had to wait till the owner came back, which was like an hour and a half. But I showed them my TWIC card, and because I did that, they didn't put me in cuffs, and I was okay with it. I was like, I'm not gonna run. There's nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? My vehicle's outside. You can have the keys. I don't care. I'm not. I'll just wait until they come back and clear me, and they did. So it is with that, and that's scraping to survive. It must be done. You know what I'm saying? Must be done. Losing loved ones. How do you? What do you learn from losing certain people? In my lifetime, I've lost a bunch of loved ones, and I miss them dearly. And I'm not gonna list them all because I'm gonna forget somebody, and that wouldn't be right. Most laws, I don't even have a biggest loss. It's just most laws. It hurts because I don't know. For me, it hurts for me losing someone that I love because when I grieve, I become grief stricken. What that means is I'm gonna be sad for a while. Even like I could be having the happiest, go luckiest day ever, but I'm gonna remember at some point what just happened or who I lost, and their memories of them wash over me, and it every day away from it lessens the sting, if that makes any sense. Each day, so when that day happens that you lose that special person, it rips you it rips you inside and out. And then a week later from that, you're still ripped, but it's just not inside and out, and you're starting to heal. Then maybe a month later, it doesn't sting as hard as the first day, and then 6 months later, it still sucks, and it's terrible, and you hate the tragedy, but it doesn't hurt as much as the initial loss, and now you're a year away, or a year afterwards, or 2 years afterwards, and it doesn't, it doesn't hurt as much, but you still remember that sting. And sometimes it resurfaces on you. Sometimes, it's been a couple years and you think of that person, or a situation happens where you see their influence, or you feel their presence on you because this is the type of thing that y'all was doing, and it washes over you and it catches you again. But that's to be expected because you love them. You know what I mean? It's yeah. And so how do you cope? How did I cope with not finishing college and doing illegal things and scraping to survive and losing special people and loved ones, and how did I cope with that? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's basically what it was. Not heavy drugs, only smoke pot, only smoke weed, maybe take some edibles. Also, good sex always takes your mind, at least for a time, away from things. Entertaining yourself, and whether you're participating or watching, sex is entertainment. It's way better entertainment when you're in it. But sex is one of those things that helps you just release, get anger out of you, and I'm not saying you being angry in the yams or during the session. It just helps you release that stress, that tension, that pressure. It helps you Now, for those that don't have sex or have sex often, there's drugs, and I'm not going to recommend that you do drugs. But your drug of choice could be food, it could be television, it could be, you know, whatever you have to pour on your shit to make the, what I mean, whatever you have to pour on your shit for you to eat it. If that makes sense, because a lot of people pour sugar on shit, and now you got breakfast. Me myself coping, like I said, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Music always soothes the savage beast. I have certain songs that um are tied to people in my memory, and to some people that are still with us, that that song is about what we did that day or how we used to rock. And music is the ultimate in release, and it doesn't matter what kind of music, because only you know the music that you like. I consider myself to be eclectic. I rock everything. I'm not really heavy on like country music, but I do enjoy. So I will sit and listen to some bluegrass. I have no problem with that. I like guitars. I like percussion. I like pianos, and I like music that's beautiful. Like, you know what I'm saying. And, to each their own. You could also cope by helping people out. And you don't have to. One thing about this world and what's this country and the social media and all that, you don't have to film everything you did to fucking help somebody. That shit, it irks me a little bit. It irks me a little bit. Like, if you giving a sandwich to a bum, there's no need to a homeless person. There's no reason for you to be filming that. Just give them the food. I got this thing that I do where I'll order something that I know I can't finish, only eat half of it, and then give the rest to someone that needs it. But Michael Collier, when I went to his master class at Temple, shout out to the Philly Comedy College. He said what he does is he'll order two meals and ask for a to go container, and put the meal in a container, and then give the food away untampered, which is way better. But I ain't balling. It's like, so you either gonna get the rest of this sandwich or give it to somebody else that can eat it. How else to cope? I don't know. Family, friends. I have people that I can call that are on my team, that are on my side, that I love, that I will call and say, look, this is what I'm going through right now. We could either do it on the phone or meet up in person, and just chop. You know what I'm saying? I think technology has helped because you can reach anyone on the planet as long as they have a supercomputer or access to one. And so, in that dynamic, we have all selected those that, we lay major stuff on. Like if something major happens, like me when I lost my job, I called my dad immediately and talked to him. I called my lady as well, but I called my dad and we talked for a few minutes. And then I sat down and I talked with my son about it, and his understanding of it isn't, I won't say genuine. His understanding isn't, how do I say that? His understanding of me losing my job, his awareness of it is 100%, but he kind of doesn't get, like, he's still in school. And so, like me, I'm mad because I'm like missing my discipline. I'm missing the having to get up, having to set my alarm, and having to get up and go and be somewhere before a certain time, and and it hasn't been a week yet. I told my son's mother years ago, I said I think I might have to go back to delivering appliances, and of course that was before I retired. And she said, "Why?" I said, I said for a majority of the time of my adult life, I used to get up every day and go to people's houses and direct traffic in it. Like I go to people's houses and tell them to move to the side, show me where everything is, and then go sit down, go watch TV, sit back, look handsome, look pretty. Let me get back to work. Um, I don't think I might end up with another job, but I don't think I ever want to work again. I really don't. I don't want to. But more than likely, if the right dollar amount came down the pike, I would definitely take it. Would definitely take it. It would have to be the right amount of bread. But I'm gonna give myself a real shot with comedy. Um, and that doesn't mean that like I'm out here to go make it and do all that. I would love to make it. My goal in stand up comedy is to be a nationally touring feature. A half an hour, 2, 3 shows a night. I know I can cook. I just got to get to them places. I got to get to that. You know what I mean? That level. I gotta get there. And one day I shall. Yeah, it's coming. We gonna do some things. Well, I'm just about tired of bumping my gums. I think that we are done here. We to recap, we talked about me losing my job and how I felt in losing my job, and I still don't like it, but I like it. And that's a conundrum wrapped in a paradox, wrapped in something else that's hard to explain. Listen, I we were from there to navigating career transitions, and I talked about my own experiences going from appliances to cooking, from cooking to driving, delivering things, and appliance delivery specifically. Meanwhile, in the past 13 years, comedy is going on. I'm gonna tell one story and I'm gonna get out of here. So while I was homeless, I was working out King of Prussia. I used to catch the 125 bus, or I would get the L to 69th Street, and then I would catch the 100 line that runs to Norristown, and then I would get off at Gulf Mills and catch a bus. I think I only walked the hill one time, and that was because it was snowing. But basically, the job was about half a mile from the train station. There was a lady from Delaware that used to promote shows called Was it Just Me? What was it? Yeah, I believe it was Just Me. And shout out to her. She used to run a mic, a variety mic in Delaware, and she was originally from New York, and she had moved back to New York. Yeah, it was Just Me for 302 Live. Shout out to the drinks. Yes. And she contacted me about coming up to Tuckahoe, New York to do a show, pay spot, and it was on a Friday. And mind you, at the time, like I said, I'm homeless. I forgot when the date was, and she called me the morning of and said, are you still coming tonight? Because you never confirmed whether you were coming or not. And I said, yes, I will be there. Now, this was on my way to work first thing in the morning. All I had with me was my book bag. And while I was homeless, my parents are from Southwest. So I would go back to their house and I would shower basically every day after work. But this particular day, I had no time. So what I did was, I went, after I got off work, I caught the bus to the train, to the 100 line. 100 took me to 69th Street. From 69th Street, I rode all the way down to 7th and Market, and I went to the Ross store. I bought a new pair of sneakers, new pair of pants, and a long sleeve shirt. And I went to a CVS and I bought baby wipes. And I sat there in the SEPTA bathroom at 11th Market and washed my body with baby wipes and put new clothes on and caught the Chinese bus at right around the corner from Redden Terminal, 11th and Arch, and went up and did that fucking show. I ended up getting a ride home. I don't know why I had to tell that story, but I just did. This has been a No Chops podcast. Love, peace, hair grease. Goodbye.
Excellence!